Dnes si představíme našeho kamaráda Jeffa. Jeff vyrůstal v městské části LA, která je obydlená převážně hispánským a asijským obyvatelstvem. Dnes vám budeme vyprávět první z několika příběhů, které ho potkali, protože je bylo.
Tak jo, vítejte v další zpovědi. Dneska tady jsme s mým kámošem. Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Jeff. I live in California, San Fernando Valley. I'm actually first generation. My family's all from Poland.
Shows on your arm, right?
Yeah, I got a bunch of family related stuff.
Represent. All right. So you grew up in what part of the town?
I was actually born in Panorama City, but where my family actually lived at the time when I was born was in Canoga Park, just kind of in different cities. But my grandparents lived close by where the hospital where I was born, and my family lived a little.
How was it there? What kind of neighborhood was it where you grew up?
It was actually where I grew up wasn't too bad. I grew up in a fairly decent neighborhood.
Till what age?
Till about 16, 17. And then I was forced to move with my mom, which she lived in a not very nice neighborhood.
So you moved when 16, 17, what neighborhood?
To Panorama City.
Panorama City?
Yeah, it's a borderline Van Nuys, Panorama City.
So what was your first impression when you moved there?
Well, I was a little young at the time, so I really wasn't thinking about areas or anything like that. It was kind of I lived in it was a residential area, so I thought I was okay because I wasn't right necessarily near like the projects or this or that, where it was real slummy.
Right.
So I was in an obvious not as bad area, but it still, wasn't the greatest, but that wasn't to my knowledge at that moment. I thought it was decent.
So what was the moment you realized this new area you moved to was kind of scummy?
Well, one of the instances that happened was I was just walking out of my house up to the bus stop on my street, and it's actually predominantly like Hispanic, but there is like an Asian community as well that's kind of deeply rooted there. And I was on my way just walking up to the bus stop, and it was hot, like it is now, and I was just wearing a tank top, and I got my last name tattooed on my back, and that was the only tattoo I actually had at the time. And it's fairly big, and I mean, it doesn't look like, it's not very nicely written. It looks pretty, I don't know, you could say gangsterish or whatnot. Yeah, and I was on my way walking up to the bus stop, and it's literally like a half a block away, and some Asian guy pulled up and, said, "Where are you from?" And he was completely covered like head to toe in tattoos. And I was just barely, like a couple car lengths away from him, walking, away from him, and, he popped out of the car halfway and was, throwing his hands up in the air saying, "Where are you from? Turn around," and as I was walking, and I did turn around just briefly, just to look, just to make, verify he was talking to me, which I kind of knew it, but, everyone's going to want to, look and see.
Right.
And when I looked for that brief second, he was turned it back around and was reaching back in his car for something, standing out of his car, but with the door open in the middle of the street,
right,
reaching in his car for something, shuffling around, and I wasn't about to stand around and kind of, wait and see what he finds or what he was looking for.
Hope not.
So yeah, I just, turned around and continued walking, just minding my own business, holding my head high, hoping nothing would happen, or, much less he wouldn't, come after me or do anything, and that was kind of a first wake-up call, like, oh, okay, I got to kind of, keep my head on a swivel when I'm leaving my house, even if I'm just walking up to the corner. That was actually it from that instance. That was it.
Oh, that was just a scare.
That was one, yeah, that was one that kind of just was the first wake-up call for me.
He was an Asian guy, you say?
He was an Asian guy.
Because we covered that a little bit. We heard there's like triads, but do you know?
It was Asian boys.
Asian boys?
Asian boys,
it's one of them?
Yeah, they're very...
Do you know any other ones that are predominant from that area?
I was gonna say the Mexicans, Hispanic community, they run it all. Like it's all
Do you know particularly which ones?
Yeah, they're called. Well, they got the ones that are think that they got the as far as one of the ones that shot at me on the next thing that kind of was a wake-up call for me as well, just to watch where I'm even driving at that point, because this was I wasn't walking, I was driving this time.
Wow. What was that one? How old were you and how did it happen?
That one was about a year later. I was just about 18, and I had my second car, and it was an Oldsmobile 98. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but cool. It's kind of like one of those more looking Cadillac grandma style cars, which didn't go well as far as with me being a white kid, shaved head,
exactly
tattoos. I was kind of standing out like I was looking as far as for trouble as if I was, but I wasn't. I was just my style. It's just the way I am.
Yeah. What might people think when they saw someone like that? What does that mean?
That
shaved head.
That I'm a skinhead, a peckerwood or a skinhead.
What's a peckerwood?
Different areas have gangs or people that represent their either race or their neighborhood or whatever it may be. And peckerwood is a white gang, not gang, but white labeled group of people that are stick together, and it's you could label them as a gang, a brotherhood, whatever you want to label it as, but it's a unified family. But they deal with obviously not all the best stuff as far as intentions with they do mess around with illegal activities. I don't know what you may want to label that as.
Are they supremacists too, or just proud?
Just proud to be white. I mean, that's what it's kind of separated.
It separates them from the Nazis.
Yeah, they don't believe in that kind of stuff. We're not above. There's no white power. We don't believe in that. There's no power over any other race. We don't think that we're better than any other race, but we're proud to be who we are.
Right.
And we don't go out looking for trouble or anything like that. We just stand up for ourselves. It's kind of like that whole karate categorized gang where it's kind of defend yourself and you just stand up for what you believe in, kind of stuff. It's you don't go out looking for trouble and don't go out causing trouble or anything like that.
So you were about 18. You look the way you look. You had your Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
And what happened is someone mistook you for probably a peckerwood or skinhead. They didn't know where to categorize you, but they just thought the worst.
And it wasn't just somebody. It was actually a car of 5 Hispanics that I was just, on my way home, and this was like 3 or 4 blocks in a little nice side street going to my house. And it was about 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday evening, just everything's all nice and cool, a normal night, going home. I, come around the corner, come up to the stop sign. As soon as I come up and stop, this white, lowered Cadillac just comes up alongside of me. There's just a 2-lane road, so as soon as he came up alongside of me, I knew something was fishy, because he's already going something's weird. He's going the wrong way already, right. And then when I look over, he's got a car of, there's 3 in the back and 2 in the front of, all Hispanic, bald, shaved head kids with white T-shirts on.
Were they older than you? Or?
They were all younger. They were all, younger. I mean, there was a couple of them that were younger than me and a couple other ones that maybe were about the same age, but they were all about the same age or younger.
So you're 18, so there's like 15, 16-year-olds already balling with them.
Already in the car, ready to go make a name for themselves, or I don't know what they're up, up to no good, obviously.
So they pulled up.
So they pull up alongside of me, and I'm at the stop, and just stopping. They pull up alongside, and as soon as I look over, I notice that, the one guy that's sitting up in that shotgun, sitting passenger, is all the way up against the door and the window up to like right about here, and all you can see is just his head, and he's looking, he's like right at me. I can't see his hands, I can't see anything, and he just straight says, "Where you from, SA?" And he's just straight looking at me right in the door, and I already know that, the fact that the whole scenario is, they pulled up alongside, there's 5 kids. He's trying to hit me up and ask me where I'm from. Everything in my head just got, painted this okay, this is really bad right now. This is not gonna go good, as an instinct, just from
you can tell, right?
Experience, you know what I mean? So I just literally I look forward, and instead of looking over or responding or doing anything, I had about a second or so to judgment call on either do I respond, do I get out of my car. I mean, like any of that stuff, which I'm looking back now would have gotten me killed, but I basically just punched it and gave my, you know, my little my little Oldsmobile as much as it had, right, you know, just floored it. And I jumped out about a car length in front of them because I don't think they were expecting that, or maybe they were, but they didn't know. I don't know, you know, obviously I got the jump on them, and as soon as I got like about a car length or so in front of them, I mean, they didn't even get a chance, I don't think, hit the gas, and they shot at me. Boom! And right then, I mean, I'm lucky that, because they were stopped, they weren't moving, so that was like their best chance to get hit me. So I'm like, holy shit, kind of ducked in my car. I'm like, I didn't hear anything, so I'm like, they didn't hit me, thank God. You know, I'm hoping, you know, I don't know, because I don't know how it's like that. Maybe I did get shot, I don't know it yet, or so I'm just hauling ass down the street, and I look, you know, in my rearview mirror, and I see their lights. They're coming behind me. They're hauling ass as fast as their car can go, but they're, you know, weighed down with 5 people, and it's a Cadillac. It's a little bit of a bigger car, it's a big boat. You know, mine's, you know, it's a kind of a smaller, you know, smaller 2-door Oldsmobile, and I'm kind of getting a little bit on them, but my street that's kind of going down is, you know, curvy, so and there's like 3 to 4 stop signs. I'm just blowing through all the stop signs, and as soon as I get to a spot that starts getting like a straightaway right before my street, they shot at me again. Boom! And like I caught it out of the corner of my eye by looking in my rear view, because I was just seeing, kind of touching to see how far away they were on me still. And I saw the flash from it in like the rear view. I saw the flash, and I kind of like ducked a little bit, and fucking like, I don't know, I was, you know, at that time you're like thinking a million things. Like I was thinking like, shit, are they gonna shoot more? I'm, you know, thinking, because now I'm getting close to my house, I'm thinking, how am I gonna end up making my turn on my street? And then do I go home? Do I go drive to a police department, a hospital? I mean, what do I do? I mean, I don't, because I have a hospital near me, I'm trying to think of all the close, like, safe locations. Yeah. And I get to my street, and I you know, slam on my brakes, I cut the corner, and I almost hit a parked car, but I make it down my street, and I hear them go right behind me, and they slam it on their brakes, and I hear boom, they shot at me again right when they had like an even shot at me. Wow. Like from behind. And then I hear them slamming their brakes on, and our streets all run parallel to each other. So I figured they were gonna stop and try to go down, you know, to cut me off. So what I did was I just went down my street and stopped like 4 or 5 houses from my house, pulled my car over on the side of the road, and just jumped out of my car and ran 3 or 4 houses, jumped over the wall and sat down behind the fence. And I heard the wheels screeching around the corner from them and coming back down my street, past my house, and then screeching to the stop right at my car. And then, you know, I'm just sitting there just fucking shitting bullets, you know, literally. And I hear them skid off and take off from my car. And I waited a little bit, but I went and got my car and parked it, you know, only a couple houses down, but on the right side of the road where it can be parked. Right. And I left it there, and I literally put a for sale sign on it like a couple days later, and never drove it again. It was like a fucking crazy. Don't want to be seen in that car, dude. Or I want to even be, you know. So that just happened by pure chance. You don't know who they were. You don't know why they stopped you. I have no idea. Just straight up wrong place at the wrong taken. Wrong place at the wrong time. I feel like that it was literally just some. You know, I was an easy target as far as for someone to get a notch on their belt. You know, to be like, hey, you know, I got someone. You know, I killed somebody. You know, I'm a gangster now, or whatever they wanted, you know, however they want to label themselves as far as after they get it. This was up in Canoga Park? This was in Panorama City. Panorama City, Van Nuys. Wow. And that was 15, 16 years ago? Yep. Does that kind of shit still happen? Have you heard anything happen to someone else? They've cracked down on the neighborhood a little bit. It's pretty quiet, but you still hear. I mean, just the fact that it's right. My little you know, neighborhood that I live on, it's right in the heart of a bunch of chaos, and it's just a little quiet neighborhood that's real old, that a lot of elderly people and old Asian people and stuff like that live in, and it's kind of luckily been taken back by the community. It feels like a little bit, you know, you don't hear about too much stuff right there, but around me, I mean, there's helicopters flying around every day. Really? Yeah, just, you know, looking for someone, or something crazy going on, someone robbing a bank or something crazy.
V příštím videu Jeff zavzpomíná na další dramatický zážitek, a sice na den, kdy se stal obětí násilné loupeže. A taky nám odpoví na všechny otázky, které nás napadly při natáčení této videosérie.